we are realizing that just as men, women can also hold the position. The emphasis now is not on Netumbo the person. The emphasis is on women. But if anything then happen, like what it can happen in any administration under men that we see them, they will also, those who will not talk about Netumbo, but rather says, look at the situation when Cuba is being put on blockade by the Americans for more than 60 years now. We will never run away from Cuba, no matter what the American can say.
Well, we all know that Africa recently witnessed history as Namibia just elected its first female president ever. This was a moment that signals a new dawn, especially to Namibia. And it's not just for Namibia, but for the entire continent of Africa. Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah actually joins other great leaders who made sure that leadership in Africa wasn't just meant for men. Talk about Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, who led Liberia. Talk about Rose Francine Rugombe, who was the interim president of Gabon. Talk about Agnes Monique, who was the acting president of Mauritius. Talk about Joyce Hilda Banda, who was the president of Malawi, and so many other great female characters that stood out to ensure that leadership was truly recognized, especially for women. Today, Africa is Marwa explores into who she actually is and how she even became the president of Namibia, and the vision and the bold step that she has already taken as the president of Namibia for a better Namibia future. I mean, we can call it a new Namibia. Anyway, before we even dive deep into the video, welcome to another episode of Africa is Marwa. If you're coming for the first time, what Africa is Marwa tries to do is to share the true voices of the great Pan-Africanists that we've had, and also sharing voices of leaders who actually lead by example of truth and integrity. Please don't forget to hit on that subscribe button if you're coming for the first time. But for my returning viewers, I really appreciate you for the support. It has been amazing ever since we started. May we keep going, and don't forget to like this video and share it wide. Well, let's now just dive deep into the video. I mean, this is not about even gender. This is about the leadership, accountability, and the bold future that Namibia has, and that Namibia is stepping into with this great leader. And from the very first day in office, she has wasted no time in bringing real change in Namibia. Namibia citizens can now start feeling the effect of her leadership. But who is Netumbo Ndaitwah? Who is she? I mean, how did she even make it to become the president of Namibia? Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah was actually a seasoned leader and a bold reformer and a champion of progress before even rising to the highest office in Namibia. She was known for her work in government and pushing for economic policies that actually benefited the ordinary Namibian citizen. And now, as the president, she has actually started working towards bringing a new dawn into Namibia with her commitment for real change. One of her first moves as the president was actually to push for the economic strategy that puts the people first. You know, she is a people-centric leader. She has already initiated discussions, and she's diversifying Namibia's economy, reducing dependency on foreign aid, and promoting homegrown industries. If you're not new to the internet, you know of her latest recent remarks about ensuring that every citizen from the US has a visa. I mean, which country in Africa takes such a bold step? You know, some of the key economic moves that she has made ever since, her inauguration are such as strengthening Namibia's agriculture, so numerous promises in ensuring that the manufacturing sector is good enough to boost self-sufficiency. Talk about her pledging support for small and medium-sized enterprises. Talk about her trying to revive the foreign investment laws to Namibia's benefit fast. We know Trump came with the America First policy, but now we have here Ndaitwa coming up with the Namibia First policy, which is going to work well for every Namibian.
Though we have made some progress, I must say, still a lot remains to be done, like it's the case in many countries. I believe that having been elected as president of my country will encourage women from all walks of life to stand up and to be counted, with a clear understanding that I was not elected because I'm a woman, but on merit. That is to say, as women, we should not ask to be elected to position of responsibility because we are women, but because we are capable members of our society to hold such positions. And that is the underlying factor. Directors of ceremonies, the development of any country depends on the quality of its human resources. To this end, education and training will continue to be a priority to ensure that we develop technical and managerial skills and work ethics that requires in the labor market.
Ndaitwa hasn't just stopped at economic reformation, but she has also promised, especially on how to fight corruption, because this is one of the major challenges that many African states face. Corruption has been a thorn in the flesh for so many African states, and Namibia has not been an exemption. But the president has actually declared war on corruption and urged her supporters that she will actually fight corruption and introduce stricter measures to track and eliminate financial mismanagement in government. The major steps that she has taken is to order on the full audit of, especially for the government spending that had been happening before she took office, and she has also established a new anti-corruption task force that will fully investigate high-level officials. She has also promised a greater transparency in government contracts and tenders. We are waiting to see how best she can do this and make sure that Namibia is actually a free corruption state.
Immediately I was elected as president-elect, there has been quite a number of corporates, foreign for that matter, who came to my office and said, for this number of years, I've been trying to do this. And really they said there are specific people who are asking for favor. I'm not going to follow things that happened before I was here, but things happening from the 21st of March, those I have to follow them. I'm not going to witch under anybody. But from now, please, there should be no delay. Though you are already paid by the people of Namibia, why do you want people who want service to give you an extra income? And in the process, make all of us fall, because some investors are going back and they were supposed to contribute to our economy. We as ministers, this is our responsibility to do that.
Her election has actually empowered even more women and youth in Namibia. As the first female president, she understands the struggles of women in leadership, especially in her country, and her being the first ever tells on how the biggest mandate that she has and how she needs to open even more doors for more young women and other youths to follow suit and to take key steps in ensuring that they are mandated in the leadership. She has actually pushed for equal pay, especially for women, and more representation in government, because from her understanding is that many of the women are still afraid to take leadership, and we know many have always perceived, especially the big positions like presidential or any other big offices, as more of men-centric. But she's trying to now rethink and change the conversation, especially for the young women. And she has actually launched even new initiative to fund youth startup and enterprise programs so that youth can actually advocate for their rights. She's also advocating for higher education for students who are from the underprivileged, grounds, and this is actually strengthening the youth in Namibia. And we know by the end of her term, a lot of women will be rising in Namibia, and we can't wait to see into this realization, because this is the conversation that we want for Africa.
We are realizing that just as men, women can also hold the position of authority. Unfortunately, the emphasis now is not on Netumbo the person. The emphasis is on women. But if anything then happen, like what it can happen in any administration under men that we see them, they will also, those who will not talk about Netumbo, but rather says, look at women. So that's to a certain extent is a pressure, but I would want to lead in the way I feel is the best for the Namibian people. We are hearing it all over the world that women are being sexually victimized. You are hearing women being asked sex favor in order maybe to be employed or to be promoted. And of course, it's a very, very difficult issue to deal with, because not all the victims are ready to come out, but we have to fight it. The laws are there, but laws on themselves, they don't mean anything. It's people that have to implement.
Nandi Ndaitwah brings a new hope for Namibia, especially on Namibia's role in Africa, because she hasn't just focused on Namibia. She wants Africa to rise together. She has joined leaders like Ibrahimtraoré and other Sahel states leaders. She has actually called for a stronger tie with the neighboring countries, and she's calling for a more united Africa and in front of global affairs. We know even the remarks she made about Cuba and the many ideas she has about the regional diplomacy moves.
The friendship between Namibia and Cuba is cemented by blood, real blood. Fidel Castro said it after the situation normalized in this region. They did not even take gold, but they only took the bodies of their people who died. Therefore, comrades, when you see us in whatever situation, when Cuba is being put on blockade by the Americans for more than 60 years now, we will never run away from Cuba. No matter what the American can say, no matter they can, whatever decision they take, we will never, our solidarity, our support with the people of Cuba, ours is amended by blood.
Talk about strengthening trade agreements with South Africa, Angola, and Botswana, which are neighboring Namibia. And she's also advocating for Africa representation in the global decision making, including some of the greater organs where African conversation is always ignored. Talk about wanting to even host the first ever African Women Leaders Summit in Namibia, having that she's the first ever female president. That would be a very big achievement for her, ensuring that she motivates even more. But of course, she faced opposition, and especially, we wouldn't say being a woman, but as just as any other leader, you always face challenges. And those who face opposition are actually the ones who are doing the best, because it means that they're doing something that people don't like. And it might be negative or it might be positive. But in this sense, especially with the pressures that she has been getting from countries like the United States, for her strong stand has actually brought in some more opposition. And she has been having some more critics, especially those who, don't value the African-centric ideas that and reforms that she's coming up with. She's been taken as a very ambitious leader, while others claim that fighting corruption, which is very rampant, especially in the African state, and it's really deep-rooted, can be very hard task for her. But these key challenges and strong opposition actually are just more of skepticism, and long-standing resistance among those who really doesn't want change, especially for Africa. And just as we've said, the international pressures, or as they always do for the African states, which I believe she's going to overcome. And even if she's running under a divided parliament, but we know with the strong ideas that she has, she's actually going to, make Namibia a very, very wonderful place. And this is just a message for Africa from Namibia, because having elected the first female president, what does this send to other African states who haven't, given opportunities, especially to women? Because we want to see what can women really bring about, especially in terms of leading a nation. And we know, as we said before, on the great leaders that we've had before, women can really make it. And it proves that leadership is not just about gender, but it's about vision, action, and results. Will this really be the beginning of more African nations electing strong women into leadership? Well, only time will tell. Anyway, I think that now brings us to the end of, looking at how a new Namibia is, and we really appreciate Namibians for taking that great action of giving Natumbo Nandi Ndaitwah a very big opportunity to lead the nation. So anyway, drop me your thoughts. What do you think about her latest stance and her latest bold statements, ensuring that actually Namibia is heard and Namibia is on the conversation in Africa? Please tell us what you think, and if you're happy, and for those women that are watching, hoping that this really brings forth a new idea, especially for every African woman out there. Well, that brings us to the end of the video. Are you happy for a new Namibia? Anyway, especially if you're from Namibia, don't forget to share this video wide with all Namibians, because we're really proud of you, especially for giving us a female president. If you find this video insightful, please don't also forget to like, share, and most importantly, subscribe. Thank you for tuning up to the end, and Africa is Marwa is hoping to see you in our next video. Bye bye.